Have you ever felt as if you've been turning over the same questions about midlife for months, maybe even years, wondering what your next chapter should and could look like? Well, you're not alone. Most of the women who find their way to follow your lighthouse share that they've felt exactly that way. I'm Dee Dee Sung, and like many of you, I've faced those quiet, often unspoken questions that surface in midlife. I know what it's like to wonder if you've waited too long. I know what it's like to feel uncertain about what's next, or to realize you're not even sure what purpose looks like anymore. And what I've discovered in my own journey, and through conversations with women navigating the same season, is that we often stay stuck, not because we aren't trying, but because the way we try to change can make it harder than it needs to be. In this video, I'll walk you through the 5 most common mistakes I see women make in midlife. Mistakes I've made myself. And I'll show you how you can move beyond them using what I call the Follow Your Lighthouse Compass. 4 points that guide you forward with every step. Clarity, courage, purpose, and grace. And here's something important to understand. This isn't about fault or failure. These mistakes aren't really mistakes at all. They're patterns. They're familiar ways we've learned to make sense of things that once made us feel safe and certain, but now quietly hold us back. And once you can see these patterns clearly, you can begin to change them with greater awareness and a little more kindness towards yourself. All right, let's dive in. Mistake number 1, holding your midlife questions inside. Many of us keep our questions locked inside. We think, I should be able to figure this out on my own. We don't want to worry our family or burden our friends, and sometimes we aren't even sure what the real question is. And that silence only adds to the uncertainty and the sense that we're in it alone. I remember a turning point in midlife when I kept asking myself, is this it? I thought I should have more to show for all these years, yet the road ahead looked so uncertain, and even knowing where to turn next felt so out of reach. And for a long time, I kept those feelings to myself. I felt embarrassed and self-conscious, wondering what was wrong with me, and that I should have it all together by now. On the outside, it looked like I had everything figured out, or at least that's what I wanted others to think. But inside, I felt lost. I felt empty, not even knowing what questions to ask to find clarity. And many women I coach tell a similar story. They've spent years in silent questioning, and that silence becomes its own weight. Sometimes the first step toward clarity is simply to say the questions out loud to someone you trust, who will listen without trying to fix things. And that's one of the reasons I started this channel, so you can hear the questions you've been carrying echoed by other women, and you can know, truly know, you're not alone, so that you can finally exhale and realize you don't have to hold it all together on your own. Mistake number 2, looking for all the answers at once. Another common pattern is trying to figure everything out at once, sometimes reaching for clarity before we've even taken the first step. We want the whole picture, the next chapter, the big vision, the purpose, right away. But purpose rarely arrives fully formed. It's not something we can chase or force. It unfolds slowly as we learn to listen to the quiet wisdom that's been there, that's been within us all along. Because most of us have spent years relying on logic and reason, thinking our way through life instead of feeling our way forward. Then one day, we feel a tug inside, something whispering that there's more, but we can't quite put our finger on it. And that's when so many of us try to jump ahead, to define it, fix it, label it. But purpose doesn't work that way. It starts to become clear when your mind and your heart finally stop pulling in different directions. You see, your mind carries the wisdom of everything you've learned, while your heart holds the truth of what matters most to you now. And when your mind and your heart start working together, clarity begins to take shape and your sense of purpose starts to reveal itself. And remember, purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It's not always about finding your one big calling. Purpose is what gives shape and meaning to your days. The quiet sense that how you spend your time reflects what matters most to you now. Maybe it's a project that excites you. Perhaps it's showing up more fully in your relationships, or simply choosing to live with a little more intention and heart. Purpose isn't about scale, it's about what feels true and aligned. It doesn't begin with a big leap, it starts with a gentle turn toward what feels alive in you. And mistake number 3, collecting insight instead of creating momentum. How many books have you read and never finished? How many podcasts have you tuned into, hoping the next one would finally make everything click? We take in so much information, searching for clarity, but sometimes all that effort only makes the path feel foggier. That's because clarity doesn't come from knowing more, it comes from living what we already know. And knowledge alone doesn't create change. Insight, knowledge has to be anchored in action. Steady action that keeps us moving forward, especially when motivation fades. I used to be that person, with stacks of books and notebooks full of ideas. It wasn't until I started slowing down and taking small moments to notice what was working and what wasn't, that clarity finally started to take shape. Because insight only becomes transformation when it's lived, when it finds a place in your real, everyday rhythm. At Follow Your Lighthouse, we talk about moving from inspiration to integration, from gathering insight to living it out, because it's not about doing more, it's about moving forward with steadiness and intention. When you set aside even a few quiet minutes each week to pause and reflect, to notice what felt aligned and what didn't, and what small step feels right to you now, that's when transformation begins to take root. Now on to mistake number 4, letting ageism and self-doubt steer your direction. Women in midlife have always been surrounded by messages, some subtle, some loud, telling us it's too late to start over. Our ship has sailed, and it's safer to stay where we are, anchored close to shore, than to reach for more. That's ageism, the cultural story that glorifies youth and sidelines aging. It shows up in the workplace when deep experience gets overlooked, replaced by younger voices assumed to be more current or cutting edge. You see it in the media, where women start to fade from leading roles after 50. And then there are the advertisers who seem to forget that women over 50 are still shaping culture, conversations, and communities, not to mention driving much of today's spending power. Yet even knowing that, those messages can take root in the way we talk to ourselves, in those quiet moments when we question our relevance and we pull back instead of taking up space. Lately, I've been noticing that I'm often the oldest woman in the room, and sometimes that can make me second guess whether I still belong there. It stirs up an inner voice that, honestly, is all my own doing. But I know I bring decades of experience and perspective, yet I've caught myself wondering if I'm still current enough. And when those thoughts creep in, I catch myself stepping back, hesitating instead of speaking up. And that's how subtle the conditioning of ageism can be. But here's the truth. These beliefs are rooted in old stories, not facts. When we start believing them, we unconsciously minimize ourselves, not because we have to, but because we've been taught to. When we buy into the ideas that it's too late, we start making choices from fear and self-doubt instead of possibility. And the moment we do that, our light begins to fade, not because we've changed, but because we've started to believe the stories that tell us we don't matter as much anymore. And one of the most liberating shifts we can make in midlife is realizing that our experience is our edge. We bring decades of insight, perspective, and lived wisdom. We've come to see what truly matters and how to move through life with both strength and grace. At Follow Your Lighthouse, we challenge the old narratives that quietly shape what we believe is possible. Through shared stories and practical tools, we help you remember the truth, that your experience is your strength, that your voice carries weight, and this chapter can be your most radiant yet. And finally, mistake number 5, going it alone without support or connection. So many women in midlife try to navigate this season on their own. We tell ourselves, I should be able to figure this out by now. We don't want to burden anyone, or we assume no one would really understand us. And before we know it, we've pulled back, quietly trying to hold everything together by ourselves. But going it alone often makes the road harder to navigate. When you sit with your own thoughts too long, it's easy to lose perspective, to start doubting yourself, or to miss out on the comfort that comes when someone gently reminds you you're not alone in this. You see, we're not meant to navigate change in isolation. Clarity deepens through connection, through conversation, through reflection, and shared understanding. When someone reminds us of how far we've come, or reflects our strength back to us, we start to see ourselves more clearly. And some of the most meaningful shifts in my own life happened when I finally stopped trying to carry everything on my own, when I shared what I was struggling with and let others in. And that kind of openness, it's not weakness, it's courage that we all share when we choose to be seen. At Follow Your Lighthouse, that's at the heart of what we do. Reassuring women that lasting change grows through connection and shared support, because the path ahead isn't one we're meant to walk alone, it's one we're meant to travel together, learning from each other, lifting each other, and finding our way forward, one clear, purposeful step at a time. So we've covered a lot together. 5 patterns that quietly hold so many women back in midlife. And maybe 1 or 2 of them resonated with you. If you've recognized yourself in any of them, it means you're paying attention. It means you're ready for a new way of navigating change, one that feels calmer, kinder, and more aligned with who you are now. That's what Follow Your Lighthouse is all about, helping you reconnect with your inner compass, find clarity, rebuild courage, and move forward with purpose and grace in your next chapter. And as you've heard, these so-called mistakes aren't really mistakes at all. Remember, they're patterns, ways we've learned to cope, adapt, or protect ourselves. And when we bring them into the light, we can begin to choose differently, with a little more awareness, a little more courage, and a little more grace. Now, I'd love to hear which part of this conversation resonated with you. Share it in the comments, because your story might be the light that helps another woman see herself a little more clearly. And if this message felt meaningful to you, be sure to subscribe so we can keep finding our way forward together. Each week, I share calm, practical ways to bring clarity, courage, purpose, and grace into your everyday life. And if you'd like to go a little further on this path, stay tuned. There's something special coming soon to help you take your next step with calm assurance and a renewed sense of direction. Once it's ready, I'll be sure to let you know. And remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. Just keep turning toward your own light, because every small, steady step you take in the direction of clarity and courage is already guiding you home. Take care, and I'll see you soon.